to live coverage of Election 2012. Debate and forum coverage on WDXY AM Sumter and WIBZ FM Wedgefield Sumter is brought to you in part by NBSC of Manning, a division of Synovus Bank. Stokes Craven Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Manning, the City of Manning, and Radio Shack of Manning. And now we go live to coverage of Election 2012.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second and the third series of the Item Miller Communications Debate and Forum series that we're putting on. Tonight we have the City Council candidates and Mayoral candidates. First, I'm Jack Osteen. I'm publisher of the Item newspaper. Appreciate all the listeners being out there in our audience this evening. First, let me introduce from City Council Ward 4. Our candidates are Constance Covington Lane and Charlie Burns. And from Ward 6, Dr. Bill Painter and David Merchant. And then after those candidates go, we'll have the mayoral race candidates, which are, of course, current Mayor Joe McElveen and Miss Debbie Bowen. So we look forward to hearing from them this evening. And our hosts are Derek Burris with Miller Communications and Braden Bunch with the Item, and they'll be asking the questions and keeping things on track. And right now I'm going to turn it over to Braden.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here. First, so many point out to the listening audience, the folks here in the audience already know this, but we found out just a moment ago that Miss Covington Lane had been called away on business at the very last minute, and unfortunately she's in Philadelphia right now, so she won't be able to attend this forum. However, we do still have the three candidates, including Charlie Burns from Ward 4, and then Dr. Painter and Mr. Merchant from Ward 6. Now, gentlemen, as you've seen on your schedule that you have in front of you, each one of you will have 90 seconds to give an opening statement, and then when we start the questions, it'll go in forum rotation, and you'll each have 1 minute to answer those questions. At the end of all the questions, you'll have another minute to give the voters listening one last chance to determine why you should be the person they vote for office. We will now start with the opening statements, and since Ms. Covington Lane is not here, Mr. Burns, we'll start with you.
Good evening, and thank you to the sponsors for this opportunity to speak at this forum. Hopefully after tonight, many of you will have a better idea of who it is you want to vote for to be your representative in Ward 4. As Mr. Bunch stated, my name is Charlie Burns, and I'm a native of Sumter. I've lived in Sumter 50 of my 54 years. I went to the Citadel and graduated with a BS degree in business administration. Since that time, I've worked for numerous companies. I've worked in small business. I've worked for large corporations. I've been self-employed, and currently I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones. I've been with them for 11 years, but anyway, it's been a great experience for me. I am married. My wife is Marion, and we have 4 children. 3 of them went to Sumter High and graduated from there and attended college, and all graduated from college. Then I have an 8th grader at Wilson Hall, and hopefully he'll be going to school too, or college. I currently serve on several boards here locally. I am the president of the Sumter Cemetery Association. I also am active in the Kiwanis, and I'm also in the past, I've served as a board member on the Sumter School District 17 board from 2002 to 2006. If elected, I promise that I will work hard, I will be diligent, and I will work with integrity, and I just hope that I will get that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns, and running for Ward 4. Now in Ward 6, we have both of our candidates here. We start with Dr. Painter, please.
Good evening. Thank you so much to the Item and Miller Communications for holding this forum. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the people of Sumter to get a chance to meet and hear from the candidates. I've been around a long time, and I've been said that I am too old, that it's time for me to move in and pass on like dinosaurs and move on. I don't believe that is the way things go. I have been in Sumter for 48 years. I came here as a coach and a teacher, and I ended up as an educational administrator. I went on to become a college administrator and open up my own consulting training business. I have been on council since 1984. I have been on numerous boards, state, federal, and local level. I have been chairman of Santee Lynch's Council of Governments Board, which is the region that we're in, the South Carolina Regional Council Board, and have been involved with many other boards. I believe that my experience and my knowledge and vision that we have needs to continue. And I would appreciate so much your vote to help that to continue.
Thank you, Dr. Painter. And now we turn to Mr. Merchant.
Again, I'd like to thank IDEM and Miller Communications for hosting this event tonight. Excellence is not an accident. It's the result of high intentions, skillful executions, and the vision to see obstacles as opportunities. What is your vision for Sumter? My vision for Sumter is to make Sumter a place of opportunity and security for your family and my family. I have my 9-year-old daughter Hannah, my 7-year-old son Peyton in the crowd with me. I want to help create Sumter and cast a vision for Sumter to make it a place of opportunity for my children and your children, where one day they'll have a chance, if they so choose, to move back here, to get a job, to start a business, to raise a family, and to continue to make Sumter a great place that we can all live, work, play together. I appreciate this opportunity tonight, and hopefully share my insights with you.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll go ahead and move on to the questions. And the first one usually in panel discussions like this is a relatively simple one, and this time we will be as well. The question is this: what's the biggest issue concerning Sumter right now? And if elected, what specifically would you do via your position on City Council to correct it? Mr. Burns, we start with you.
Well, in the past several weeks, I've gone out and knocked on a lot of doors and talked to numerous people in my ward. And I think each ward, sometimes what you would guess call a problem is unique to that ward. But in my particular ward, I think one of the biggest things is just declining neighborhoods. What I think we need to do is figure out a way to get these neighborhoods, such as the Croswell area, Ann Park, and even in the Hampton Park area, we need to figure out a way to get these neighborhoods to where they can maintain and not steadily decline. It seems like a lot of people, what I've heard is that, you get a home and all of a sudden the owner passes away, the children don't live here, so they don't want to sell the house because they grew up in the house, so then they start renting it out to tenants, and sometimes, the kids, they aren't here to really maintain the house. And the house eventually falls into disrepair. And what I would like to do is just talk with people in the neighborhoods, the neighborhood associations, and put our heads together and figure out a way that we can, try to correct this problem, because we've got some beautiful homes, on Hampton Street, on Calhoun Street, Harvey Street, and over in Ann Park, and these homes are just, they're just gradually falling apart. And thank you,
Mr. Burns. Your time is up. We'll move on to, and just to remind the gentleman as well, over here, if you'll see our lovely timekeeper Jack Osteen holding up, if you see 15 seconds, that's it. You see the red card, that means it's time to wrap it up. Dr. Painter, we now turn to you with the same question.
Repeat the question.
Absolutely. The question is quite simply this:
slower.
What's the biggest issue concerning Sumter right now? And if you're elected to office, what will you do in office to try to correct it?
Okay, let me speak to that from the standpoint of Ward 6 first. Ward 6 is an older, larger ward which has what we would consider it's beginning to show renewable people. We've got a lot of new people that are moving into Ward 6. We've got a lot of people who have been there for quite some time and will continue to be there. Our vision would be and this is very important, when you live in a ward of about approximately 4,000 homes, there's no way any one council member can make it to 4,000 homes. And I'm going to tell you, I can bet David and I tried our best to knock on every one of them since we've signed up to be reelected. But with the neighborhood associations, this is very important to us, that we have neighborhood associations that can be our ears and tune in to us and keep us in the right way. We've got to have better transportation across Sumter. Now, I talked about the ward, and I do not have time to talk about Sumter. But Sumter does have a vision, and we will complete that vision.
Thank you, Dr. Painter. Mr. Merchant.
As we've gone around knocking on doors, it's kind of funny. If you talk to the husbands, it's lower taxes. And if you talk to the wives, they want a target. And you can kind of equate that. And I turn that to say, okay, what does that mean? The way I hear that is jobs and opportunity. And let's fill up Broad Street. Let's get just the empty storefronts full again. And if elected to council, that would be my number one goal, to help make a smooth transition for those wanting to start a business or somebody wanting to relocate to the city and open up a shop. So economic growth and economic development to help promote more jobs and thus, more quality of life, and it just stems from there.
All right, very good. Gentlemen, we have another question for you, and as Braden said, we start out with an easy one. It's going to get a little progressively hard as the evening goes on here. Here's your question for you. On the second attempt, Sumter voters approved a penny sales tax dedicated to certain infrastructure projects, both in the city and the greater county area. Did you support the initial penny sales tax? And if so, would you support a renewal of this tax to take on additional projects? Or do you believe the penny tax should be allowed to sunset? And since our other candidate's not here, we'll go in the same order again, starting with Mr. Burns.
Initially, I did support the penny sales tax, and again, I believe I would support it in the future. To me, I think one thing that we really need to work on is just the infrastructure in Sumter, and that is improving some of the intersections. Just for instance, I had to take my son to the other side of town, and then I had to rush back down here. A couple of traffic lights were out, and it just, I don't know, it really cut it short. So, I really think we need to improve some of the intersections and also widen some of the roads, to make it where we can handle some of the increased traffic on these highways. And when we have Continental Tire coming in here, I feel like that's going to get even heavier. So, we need to go ahead and I'm sure, city council, county council has got a vision for what roads are priority, and I think we need to move forward with that as quick as we can.
All right, Dr. Painter.
Well, our vision, we've already started, and that is an economic development, and we do have many, many jobs that have been created in Sumter. We want to continue to offer that, but we've got to have the right kind of transportation plan that's going to move traffic more effective and more efficiently around our community. We've got to look at how we can control our own destiny, because Washington and the state of South Carolina is not going to do that for us. And we've got to work on how we can fit that to accomplish these items. The other part that we've got to make sure that we look at is making sure that we take care of the quality of life of our citizens as we move forward. I did support the tax. I would support the tax again if it only went to and looked toward infrastructure.
And Mr. Merchant.
I did support the tax, and I would support it again if the voters so choose. The way I understand it, it would have to go back before the voters of Sumter County. I support it for the reasons many of us may have heard the story of infrastructure was put into the first penny, and that infrastructure helped run water and sewer for the Continental Tire site, and we all know what that's going to do. That's a game changer. We've heard that for this community. So it's infrastructure on Main Street. They're working on some water lines or sewer lines that I pass through now. So it's those types of items that I agree with Dr. Painter that the state and federal governments aren't going to support local governments like it has in years past. So we have to find ways to generate revenue to be able to promote opportunities for our citizens through infrastructure, through quality of life, just through all the different projects that Penny has enabled us to do.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to our next question.
And this one kind of deals with population. According to the U.S. Census, population of the city of Sumter is slightly more than 40,500 people. And that's slightly smaller than it was 11 years ago today. What do you think can be done to spur population growth in Sumter? And quite frankly, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? We'll start with you, Dr. Painter.
Okay. First, I have a question mark about the data and how it's worked out. But what are we going to do? We've already started the process. With the fact that we've grown economic development, that's going to automatically bring people to Sumter. That's going to bring them in here, and we've got to make sure that we have the kind of services and the opportunities available within the city that they'll want to live within the city. We also have got to look at a method and a way that we can grow our city through our annexation program. And our annexation where we can have it that is more valuable and viable for our community. And when we deal with infrastructure, we deal with all the items that relate to building the city with quality of life, we can make it good.
Thank you, Dr. Painter. Mr. Merchant.
I would approach this in a couple different ways. The word annexation was brought up, and I would agree with that. Approximately 100,000 people in the county. About 60,000 or so live in an urban type setting. Not all of them are in the city, but they're close enough, they're right on the edge, right on the border. So I would support annexation to bring those in, to offer the same services, the water and the sewer and the prompt police response and fire response. So yes, I would promote growth through annexation, but also promote it through business development and commercial and industrial development, just making it easier for investors to come in and bring the store or bring the business to the community, whether it be in the commercial area sector or the industrial sector, to be able to promote growth, bring better jobs and more jobs to the community to help bring more people in as well.
Thank you, Mr. Merchant. Now, Mr. Burns, we turn to you.
Thank you. I agree with some of the things my constituents said. I do believe that we do need to look at annexation. And we have a tremendous amount of people, especially on the west side of town, that I think we need to look at some options there. But also, I think, there again, it goes back to some of the issues I talked about earlier. I think that, well, I didn't talk about this earlier, but I think the schools, the public education system is key. Because I think a lot of people in the city don't really value how good our public education is. We have got some great teachers in public education, and it has so much potential. They have some issues right now, but there's tremendous potential there, and I think we need to continue to work hard with our public education system to attract the families to come into the town because they know their kids can get a good education there. And then, again, continue to improve infrastructure and working to keep these neighborhoods from going into decline, but keeping them up and improving them. I think those are key issues.
All right, very good. Gentlemen, another question for you. Recently, City Council imposed a garbage fee to local residents. Do you think this was a good decision, and what changes, if any, would you make to the current operation of city services? And on this question, we'll begin with Mr. Merchant.
The garbage fee, tax, however you want to call it, was brought upon by council. And, it's frustrating to kind of see the hidden cost by living in an area. I don't understand, $8 a month doesn't sound like a lot of money. When you extend that over, the course of a year, it's almost $100. So I think it could have been a way to be avoided. To that little bit of money, it could have been cut in other areas to try to just keep small fees and taxes and just little things that sneak up on us over and over and over again, just to try to keep our cost of living down. Because at every level of government, we continue to get small fees and taxes snuck in on us that end up costing us in the long run.
All right. Mr. Burns.
There again, out knocking on doors, I've had several people comment on that, and they felt like that they did not like the fee, the tax. They felt like it was kind of snuck in on them, and would I support it? I don't believe so. I do think that in the economy and the way things are right now with unemployment, well, at the time, it was up there pretty good. I don't know what it was at that time, but when people are hurting as it is, and then we start adding more fees and taxes to them, I think we need to be more conscientious and look at, possibly tighten up our own belts before we go and ask the people to accept another fee or tax. But there again, I think a lot of these situations, I would need to be more involved in it just to make sure of which way I would go on that. But, from my perspective, I would not agree with that tax or fee.
All right. And Dr. Pater.
Remember, we've been in a tremendous economic downturn, and our city management has done a wonderful job. We haven't laid off one employee. We've been able to manage and to do and carry out our budget and keep the quality of life and the services to the people of Sumter without having to do those sorts of things that we didn't want to do in a tough time. That gives, and that's credit that needs to be given to the management. This fee we didn't want when we made the decision. But we were put in a very difficult position when you have an increase in tipping fee into the landfill, which is owned by the county, and that cost us far more than the $8 that we charge to the people. And also, we went to recycling to try to help curb that a little bit, but we tried every way possible to avoid the fee. I haven't had anyone knocking on doors tell me that, they are against it.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Our next question is going to go towards the areas of perception of Sumter, in the sense that there's a website that a lot of economic developers use specifically when trying to compare themselves to other cities, and it's Sperling's Best Places website. On that website right now, it says Sumter County, or Sumter, the city of Sumter actually, has the 10th highest violent crime rate. It's the 24th most stressful place to live of the small metropolitan areas in America. And out of all the metropolitan areas, it's in the bottom 10% when it comes to green living, which they say is an evaluation of air quality, power usage, public transportation usage, among other factors. Which of these do we tackle first? And what do you think this perception has on the community at large? Mr. Burns, we start with you.
Okay. I'm not sure. I didn't understand the last one. I think it's something about green living.
It's evaluation of green living is what they call it.
Well, to me, the most important thing is getting a handle on crime. And I know our police department has worked hard. Our sheriff's department has worked hard. But I believe that is one of the big perceptions that we need to work on is getting a handle on crime. And there again, I think that involves getting out and, with the police department, with community associations, and working together to crack down on these, there again, some of these older homes that are either vacant, that are dilapidated. I was out knocking on doors and I saw one place I'd never seen it in the 50 years I've been here. And I mean, you could hardly see I think it used to be a business, but it's just been sitting there. And I asked the neighbors about it, and they said, "Oh, that's where they do their drug deals." And I thought, and it's right there off of Main Street. And I think that is one of the key things that we need to address is just crack down on crime and just clean up some of these areas, especially right off of Main Street, because that is one of the first things people see when they come to this town. They want to say, "I want to see Main Street," and we need to clean it up.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Dr. Payne, we turn to you.
I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that question.
Oh, sure. It was just,
Please,
it's a question about perception, and there's this one website that a lot of economic developers use when comparing cities. It rates Sumter as having a very high crime rate, as having being a very stressful place to live, and it says it's not a very green place to live. In other words, most people don't use public transportation. They use a lot of power, things along those lines. Which of these issues do we need to tackle first, and how do we change the perception of Sumter because of that?
Right. Okay. Keep in mind, $52 million budget. Of that, fire and police is over $12 million of that budget. That's quite a bit. But we manage, and if you look at the statistics that's been given to us and been published in the paper, where crime is down. We've shown it. Our police department has worked it to move it down. What do I think we need to do is we need to keep our citizens more informed, and we need to work harder to work with neighborhood associations to show them how they can be the ears of our city and our council members, that we can put together programs that will make us better, make us a better green. We need to look at renewable energies. We need to look at renewable ways. We need to look at how we can better the quality of life of all of our citizens.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Merchant, we turn to you.
Unfortunately, I'd agree with that. I was at a family reunion last year over in Saluda County, and my 90-year-old aunt says, "David, do you still live over in Sumter? Every time I turn on the news, it seems like there's some crime they're reporting." So I said, "Yes, ma'am, but Sumter's a great place." But everybody deserves a good night's rest every night. Nobody should have to go to sleep listening to gunshots. I mean, talking to some of the guys on the police force and Chief Rourke and Deputy Chief Holston, that's as good as they get. I mean, we got a great police force. The one thing we need to make sure is we continue to give them the resources they need to do their job well. We need to make sure we stay in line with pay scales in the surrounding areas so we don't lose officers to surrounding counties. But crime is definitely increasing. The officer I was talking to the other day said, "Yeah, we're going on the right track." We need to continue to make sure to give them all the resources they need to continue to lower the crime rates in Sumter.
All right, gentlemen. Finally tonight, each of you are seeking a 4-year term in office that will last until January 2017. 4 years from now, where do you see the city's economy standing, and what do you think could be the main economic driver that you could influence while you're in office? And on this question, we'll begin with Mr. Burns.
Well, I think the economy will be better in 4 years. I think the impact of Continental Tire and hopefully some feeder businesses off of that, I think it will help us tremendously. And then, the Third Army continuing to come in, and hopefully we can get some of those folks to move in over here and not live in other counties or cities. But as far as, what can we do? To me, I would like to continue and like to work with small business owners, and, make their business make it more friendly for them to come and do business in Sumter. I've talked to several small business owners, and they talked about all the hoops that they have to jump through to get their businesses established. And I would just like to make it a little easier for them, make it more friendly for them, because, we've got some of the big businesses. Let's help those small businesses and help them succeed. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Painter.
3 major points. Shaw Air Force Base is very viable to Sumter. Approximately $2 billion impact. That's going to potentially have an opportunity to grow if we maintain an interest and an effort to make sure it does not go down the tube in a BRAC or whatever. Secondly, the big driver is going to be economic development and jobs manufacturing. And we used to have an economic developer around here who used to say, for every manufacturing job, you create 15 retail jobs. So we need to continue to work hard to make sure that we continue to have and do add manufacturing economic development in this community for that purpose. Third thing is if we're providing education and showing ways that our youngsters can grow up and bring and do and be in a great city, in a great county, then all of it will grow well together.
All right, and Mr. Merchant.
Hi, this is an area that really is personal to me. I own a small steel fabrication business. I'm a small businessman. So economic development is in my heart. I feel like that's a key driver to make business easier to promote business, to make it easier to locate here, to make it easier for the person wanting to set out on the American dream, hang a shingle, start something on their own, and create jobs. I think we need to make it easy for folks to be able to create jobs and grow in that area. I agree with Dr. Painter. Shaw Air Force Base is our biggest asset right now. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of opportunity for growth there as well. But as we continue to grow our economic base, bring in more commercial and industrial development, the folks that are living in the out areas in Columbia that are driving into the base will want to move to Sumter and see that we're growing and moving and thriving.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That's going to be it for the questions we have now. Like we promised you, you're now each going to get a minute to give your closing statements to say why the voters out there listening and in our audience should choose you in the November general election. Mr. Burrs, we start with you.
First of all, just thank you for your time and your attention. Hopefully tonight has been helpful to you. Some of you may have more questions, and please feel free to contact me after the forum, or by just the phone number. Just please give me a call. But anyway, you the people, the citizens of Sumter, are the reason I'm up here. Like I say, Sumter has been good to me. I love Sumter. My family's been here for a long time, 4 generations, and I have a lot vested here. And I do, just as Mr. Merchant said earlier, I want this to be a place that my kids will want to come back to. Right now, I've got 3 out of college. None of them have come back here. I would love for them to want to come back here, but they just say there's just not a job that I really want, or, for one reason or another, there's not enough going on in Sumter. I'm just not interested in coming back there, but I want my kids to at least have that option and want to come back here. And I want Sumter to be a place that we're proud to call home, and we have so much potential. And we're on the way. I think we've got a lot of good things happening right now. We just need to continue that vision and just continue to keep our nose to the grindstone and working hard to make Sumter all that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burrs. Dr. Painter, we turn to you.
We have a vision. I've been on this council since 1984. I've seen that vision change in many ways. But it's never changed from doing what is right for the citizens of the city of Sumter. It's not an easy thing to make decisions sometimes. But I will assure you we will make them where they are fair and they're equal to everybody, not just some people. Sumter will grow. We will continue to go. I have definitely some things that I want to see finished before I'm through. And with your help, I'll get a chance to see that they are completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Burnett. And finally, we turn to you, Mr. Merchant.
When I started, I mentioned vision as well. But let me take you back a minute. The other day I was reading an article, and it talked about in 1986, Sumter City Council voted to pass single-member voting districts in the city, in the community. As the article read on, it said, by doing that, the city of Sumter showed that it's moving towards progress and a new beginning. November 6th, we have an opportunity for another new beginning. I've always been taught to appreciate the work of those that have come before us. I've also been taught you just don't sit back and let the work of those become before us and just be idle. I've been taught it's my duty, it's our duty to get up, take the torch, and move forward and take it to the next level. On November 6th, we have an opportunity for that. We have an opportunity to continue to move Sumter towards the next level, to create that vision, to create Sumter as a place of opportunity and security for our family, your family. And so join with me on November 6th. And as we move Sumter forward, we can do it together. David Merchant, running for City Council, Ward 6.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. That'll wrap up this portion of our forum this evening. We're going to take a quick commercial break on WDXY 1240 AM, also 105.9 FM, and being simulcast on our sister station, Z95.5. We want to thank our friends at The Item, Jack Osteen, Braden Bunch here with me. My name's Derek Burris. We're going to take a brief break. We'll come back. We'll have the mayoral candidates, Joe McElveen and Debbie Bowen, in their portion of the forum this evening. We'll be right back after this.
And now back to coverage of Election 2012, candidate debates and forums on WDXY and WIBZ.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the second part of the City Council Mayoral Forum. It's the item Miller Communications Forum, and we're here with the mayoral candidates, current Mayor Joe McElveen and Miss Debbie Bowen. I'm Jack Osteen. I'm publisher of the Item newspaper, and I'm here with Derek Burris with Miller Communications and Braden Bunch, and we just want to thank you for listening in this evening and the audience being here tonight to listen to some questions from our current candidates. And I will now turn it over to Braden Bunch and Derek Burris.
All right, thank you, candidates, for being here, and thank you to our City Council candidates. That's kind of hard to say 3 times fast, that were here for us earlier. As we explained to them and as we'll explain to you, to start the evening, you'll each have 90 seconds to give your opening remarks. Once we begin, we'll have 60 seconds to answer all questions. Some of the questions will be for both of you. Some of the questions will be for you individually. You can see on your schedule in front of you how that will work. At the end of all the questioning, you'll have another 60 seconds to explain to the voters of the city of Sumter why they should elect you to a 4-year term for mayor. We begin after having drawn earlier. Mayor McElveen, you're up first. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Braden, and I appreciate the item and Miller Communication putting on these debates. It's important for us to have as many opportunities as we can to let our positions be known to the people of Sumter. I'm a lifelong resident of Sumter, and I'm really a lifelong resident. When I was inducted into the Air Force, I got stationed at Shaw Air Force Base. So I've been here the whole time. Sumter is home. It's a place I love, and one of the great honors of my life has been to be allowed to serve you as your mayor for the last 3 terms. I feel like I've done a good job. I feel like I deserve re-election, but that's up to the voters. I just ask you to look at the progress we've made during the 12 years I've been mayor. Taking into account a pretty bad economic downturn, we have kept our city on a sound fiscal basis, and we have made some unprecedented progress that's been recognized nationally and by state organizations. I'm proud to be in Sumter. I'm proud to be your mayor, and I hope you're proud to be a resident, and I hope you'll vote for me on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your turn, Ms. Bowen.
I would like to thank the item and Miller Communications for hosting this event tonight, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm Debbie Bowen, and I'm candidate for mayor for Sumter, South Carolina. I have been a Sumter resident for 35 years. I'm the daughter of a retired Air Force navigator. He passed away a few years ago, but this was his home. Our roots are here. I tell people my hometown is nowhere, my friends are everywhere. I love Sumter. I could live anywhere. I did leave Sumter for 1 year in that 35 years and moved to Myrtle Beach so my husband could take a job, and I could not wait to get back to my Sumter. The day the BRAC announcement that Shaw was staying around, we put a for sale sign in our yard in Myrtle Beach, and we were back in Sumter in no time. That's when I started a real estate career, and I've gotten to know so much about Sumter through my real estate career. I absolutely love it. I was the founding person for Miss Libby's School of Dance 23 years ago. I have made so many friends over the years just through that business alone. I did decide to go into real estate full-time. I figured it was time for the younger people to take over Miss Libby's, and that's what they did. So my new challenge is to run for mayor.
Thank you, candidates. We'll go ahead and start with our first question, and it's going to be one that if you were here at the beginning that you've already heard this evening, and that's specifically the Sumter voters approved a penny sales tax dedicated to certain infrastructure projects both in the city and the greater county area after the second time it came to a ballot. The first time it failed to pass. Do you support this initial penny sales tax? And if so, would you support a renewal of the tax to take on additional projects, or do you believe the penny sales tax should be allowed to sunset? Mayor McElveen, we begin with you.
Thank you, Braden. Not only have I supported it, I have pushed it for some time before it became a public issue, trying to let be known the importance of us investing in ourselves. Because as state money goes away and federal money goes away, you can either just complain and fuss about it, or you can do something about it. And I'm proud of my community because we did something about it. We chose projects that I think are improving our community, improving our quality of life. And if there's any proof in the pudding, it's the fact that Secretary Bobby Hitt and Governor Haley have stood before groups all over this state and all over this region and said that if the city of Sumter had not used that money, that capital sales tax money, to run water and sewer along 521 South, Continental would not be here. That's just one thing the capital project sales tax has done for us. If it comes up again, I will work hard to make sure we have the same high quality projects, and I'll work to get it passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McElveen. Ms. Bowen, your turn.
I was on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce when we were pushing for the penny sales tax, and I absolutely was in favor of it. I tried to talk as many people as I could into supporting that tax. I think it's a fair tax. It was spread across our community fairly, and it was something that was absolutely essential to the growth of Sumter, and I will be for another penny sales tax if it comes up again, which I'm sure it will. I believe the current one is just for 7 years, and so I would absolutely be in favor. We would not be getting Continental Tire had we not passed the penny sales tax.
All right, very good. Candidates, along these same lines, when somebody dines at a Sumter restaurant, they currently pay a 10% sales tax, which is the highest sales tax rate in the state. Now, in light of this, what do you think are the benefits of the city's hospitality tax? And do you see a day when that tax could be rescinded? Ms. Bowen, we'll start with you.
I think that also is a necessary tax. We really do a good job with tourism here, and with so many people coming here for softball and baseball and all those sorts of things. I believe that the hospitality tax is very crucial to our budget. I think that it's probably not going to go away. I don't know if it's going to go up. Also, with so many transits from Shaw, a lot of times we have people here in our hotels that are not necessarily stationed at Shaw, but they're here for a long time. They eat in our restaurants, and they're reimbursed for that in most cases. So I'm very much in favor of it.
All right, Mr. McElveen.
Derek, the hospitality fee or tax is much like the capital project sales tax. It's probably paid by 25-30% by folks who do not live here who are eating in our restaurants. We enacted that as a quality of life initiative in the city of Sumter. Our commitment has been that we have focused heavily on capital projects so as not to increase our operations and maintenance, and we have stayed by that. And we try to build things that will attract people to Sumter to spend their money here and can be enjoyed by local residents. We had a triathlon here just this Saturday. I believe there were 140 people, and I believe only 20 of them were from Sumter. They came from 5 states. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but I can guarantee you the restaurants and the stores, and especially our hotels, liked it a whole lot. When we passed it, I believe 2 additional pennies have been passed by the state since we initially passed it. And, of course, we've added the capital projects tax. But I think most residents of Sumter look around and they like what we've done with the money.
All right, thank you. Our next question touches on somewhat of a hot button issue that occurred in the news over the past couple of months, and that's specifically that the city of Sumter currently faces a lawsuit from a local business owner attempting to open what we'd call a gentleman's club on the far eastern side of the city limits. His zoning request was rejected by the Zoning Board of Appeals, which has prompted the lawsuit along First Amendment rights. Was the rejection of his application the correct decision? And if so, what argument would you make against the freedom of speech arguments he's now considering in the court? Mayor McElveen, we begin with you.
Well, I haven't read any of the court stuff. I will say that my general view is that I very much oppose it being in the city of Sumter, and I wish that there were no requirements that there be even arrangements made for such a thing in the city of Sumter, but the United States Supreme Court and our Constitution say that we do have to allow places where it can be done. The decision was not made by City Council. The only decision City Council made was where it could be permitted, and there are very, very few places in the city where it can be allowed. I'm trying to talk very carefully because I don't want to be, quoted in court. But the decision was made by our Planning Commission and by the Board of Appeals. And I believe they made a very wise decision, and I appreciate their courage in doing it.
Thank you, Mayor McElveen. Ms. Bowen, it's now your turn.
I was there the evening that they voted, and I am 100% opposed to anything like that in our city or town. However, I'm also very cognizant of the Constitution, and he met all the criteria. He had done all of his homework. He had set up where he knew it fit, and when they voted it down, half of me was very happy, but the other half of me said, we're probably going to get sued over that, because he did his homework and had done everything he was supposed to do, and his place was approved and then voted down.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Candidates, Sumter has a long relationship with the military, most notably Shaw Air Force Base. At the same time, many of the enlisted men and women voice opinions that when they leave the base, they'd more than like turn right and drive to Columbia than turn left and head into Sumter. What efforts need to be made to make Sumter more attractive to our local military personnel? And Ms. Bowen, we'll begin with you.
I'm glad I'm getting this question. I am a huge advocate of Sumter, and I have some Third Army friends, they're females, and they had made the comment to me that there's nothing to do in Sumter, and I said, you're just not looking for the right things to do. I took them to Oktoberfest. They closed the place down. They said there's lots to do here. Whenever I'm trying to talk someone into choosing Sumter to live, I often remind them about the price of gas, and also I think it's a horrible hazard, the deer that are on the highway. Some people may make light of that, but our own Loretta Holt's son was just hurt terribly by hitting a deer. Thank goodness he's going to be okay, but he was very critically injured. I would love to just get the word out. I think we have plenty to do here. I just don't think we're getting the word out what it is to do, and personal invitations from our community.
Right, Mayor McElveen.
Overwhelmingly, folks at Shaw Air Force Base, Army and Air Force tell me that they love Sumter. Sometimes there's some hurdles getting here because of perceptions that are out there, I think, without a lot of justification. But once they're here, believe me, and everybody here knows, a lot of them stay. I've spent 12 years along with City Council trying to make Sumter the kind of place where young people want to come and live and work, to attract the kinds of businesses and industries that will give them a place to work, to make Sumter a great place to live. And I think it's working. I think that we see young people moving here much more than they did a few years ago. I think that we have revitalized downtown, got a long way to go, but we've got a great start on it. Palmetto Tennis Center is a great attraction for younger people. There are just so many things that we have done. We're still a family-oriented city, and so many young people that are coming back, they're coming back when they find out they're having children because they want their children to have this kind of environment growing up. Thank you.
All right. Candidates, our next few questions are going to be candidate-specific, and we'll ask questions to each of you. And Mayor McElveen, this first question will be for just you. Since taking office, you've established a personal policy of abstaining from voting on issues and ordinances before City Council unless there's a tie vote among the 6 council members. Do you plan on continuing this policy, and how are voters supposed to evaluate your stance on the issues, whatever they might be, when you don't voice your opinion?
Well, I actually have not done that. That was originally my opinion, but I have not done that because I was shown that there was a legal responsibility for me to vote. I think my confusion was when I was on City Council back in the 80s. that was the rule. Mayor Bubba McElveen did not vote unless there was a tie. Now, I will have to admit, and maybe as Bill knows, sitting next to me, I sometimes don't say anything, but I'm counting. And I think if you look at the minutes of the meetings, they should say unanimous, that the vote was unanimous. So I believe I have been voting because I was corrected in the position I was taking.
All right, fair enough. Ms. Bowen, this question is for you. Your work as a realtor. And as you know, the Sumter housing market has been down for some time, with the market relatively flooded with available housing. If elected mayor, what steps do you think should be taken by sitting government to improve the housing market?
I don't think there's really a lot that city government can do about that. I mean, this is a nationwide problem. This is not just a Sumter problem. We have a huge inventory of homes. I think as more Third Army people come here, as Continental comes here, we're going to draw down on that inventory. A question the other day to me was, how can we attract more affordable homes on the south end of town? We're not going to attract builders to build anything else in this town, any kind of homes on that end of town until our inventory is down. And it will correct itself. It has already started. We're projecting the next 3 to 4 years to be an upward trend. We will never get back to the way it was 5 or 6 years ago, but we're on the way. We've hit the bottom and we're on the way back up.
All right, fair enough. Mayor McElveen, this question is for you. This is you're seeking your fourth term in office here, so it's not your first campaign. However, according to your recently reported campaign disclosure form, you spent $2,500, or nearly 30% of your total campaign funds, on a city survey. What was the survey for, and what did it tell you that you didn't already know about the town?
It was just to give me information on perceptions and ideas and issues, and just what you normally would use a poll for. I've actually never done one before, but I did do one in this instance, and that's all I can say about that. But I wanted to add something that as a presiding officer of city council, you normally will see me wait until everyone on council has expressed themselves, not always, but most of the time, until I speak. Because as a presiding officer, you have a duty to sort of try to make sure everybody gets heard, make sure we move forward together. Being a mayor or a chairman, generally, you cannot always express exactly what you think, because your job, number one, is to move the city forward and get everybody, because I can't do anything by myself. And we try to make as much as we can unanimous in the city.
All right, very good. This next candidate-specific question is from Ms. Bowen. Ms. Bowen, this is your first run at public office, and typically the toughest obstacle for any new candidate is to educate voters on what they stand for and what efforts they would support. However, if a Sumter voter visits your website, they find a site that's devoid of any specific proposals of what you feel needs to be changed in government or what new proposals you would like to see taken on by the city. Why the secrecy?
Have you ever heard the adage, you get what you pay for? I'm not happy with my website, but I love my Facebook page. I have a lot of conversation with people, private messages. I've had phone calls, I've had emails. I think that most of the people in Sumter do know me, and they do know what I stand for. I'm a Rotarian. I'm on the Timmy Foundation Board. I go to Alice Drive Baptist Church. I'm very active in the community, and I'm one of the top producing realtors in town. I have a very tight relationship with Shaw Air Force Base. I'm an honorary commander, and there's no secrecy. It's that website probably should just even come down.
All right. Very good. We go back to our panel-wide questions now for both of you. The City County Law Enforcement Center is about to see a major change with the Sumter County Sheriff's Office moving out of the second floor into their own building. What, if anything, should be done for the city police force, and what changes, if any, need to be made in the local law enforcement office? And for this question, we begin with Mayor McElveen.
At this time, the plan is for the Sumter City Police to remain in the present building. We don't know when the sheriff's office will be moving out. And that may even go beyond when the other building is completed. The building was built when I returned to Sumter in 1971, so it's getting very dated. And with the new equipment and the heavy load of electronic equipment, it's getting to be a place that's going to have to be replaced at some point. Staff is considering and working through options. The city we did purchase the property. Our city purchased the property on the corner of Calhoun and Lafayette, and it was our hope that over time that would become a law enforcement corner, I guess you would say, or complex, that we would move fire station, police, sheriff. Did not work out that way. I don't know if that's where we will move or not, but that's sort of the direction we're looking. We know we've got to do something probably in the next 5 to 10 years.
All right. And Ms. Bowen.
Ditto. I've not been involved in government enough to really give a good answer. I can tell you I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and see what we have to look forward to for the next 5-6 years. I'm very proud of our law enforcement, city law enforcement and county law enforcement. We're down 14% in crime in the city, and I think that all the people involved are doing an excellent job. As far as the facilities and who should be where, I'm just don't know how to answer that question.
All right.
Fair enough. This will be our final question tonight before we give you your chance to answer your closing, to make your closing arguments for the voters. And this question deals with the revitalization of downtown Sumter. The question basically says, where have these efforts erred, if you think they have at all, or where have they been successful, and what, if anything, do you think should be done by city government to help advance the effort a little more? Ms. Bowen, we start with you.
I think we've done great things with the downtown Sumter. I know that we've been visiting other cities like Greenville to see how they've improved their downtown. I think we still have a ways to go, but I think that the people in the past that have worked on downtown improvement have done a great job. I had somebody say to me the other day that they hoped when I became mayor that I would help stop, and I had to remind them I have one vote, help stop putting so much money into our downtown. And I said, oh no, that's where you're wrong. Any industry looking at our town, the first place they're going to look at is Main Street, Sumter. We've got to have a beautiful Main Street. We've got to have a busy, hustle-bustle Main Street. I think we've done great things with our fountains, with our entertainment down there. We have a ways to go, and I want to be part of that.
Thank you, Ms. Bowen. Mayor McElveen, your turn.
I can't pass without saying that most everything Debbie mentioned occurred since I've been mayor, and that we have pushed very, very hard to get to this position where we are now. But I said when I first got elected mayor, it's a 30-year process. And that's what it took in Greenville. That's what it took in Charleston. We work on it every day. Howie Owings is doing a really good job for us. We've got to concentrate on getting more local, small businesses downtown, because regional and national companies are not going to come downtown yet. That will happen, but it's not going to happen for a while, I don't think. The idea has been to get an anchor in each area with the Central Carolina health school that we worked very hard to get. We've got Opera House here. We've got the courthouse that's going to be down on this end. This is the plan to get people downtown. The next step is upstairs apartments and working on our historic area to increase the population of people who will use the downtown. We've got a plan. We've been sticking with it. It's been largely successful. We haven't always followed the plan, but we've usually come out better because we had something better than the plan. I could give examples, but don't have time.
That's exactly right. I was about to cut you off. But thank both of you for the most part, following our time guidelines today. We now have time for our closing arguments, and according to the draw, as we started this evening, Mayor McElveen, you'll go first.
So I got to start first and last.
Yep.
Well, Debbie, I want to thank you for being here tonight. I always admire anyone who offers for office because it's quite a challenge. It's a drain on your time, and it's a real commitment when you just decide to run. That being said, I hope everybody will vote for Joe McElveen for mayor on November 6th. I believe I've done a good job. I'm not trying to be vain. I realize that every mayor, every city council builds on the efforts of those before him. I don't claim that I've done everything, but I've worked very, very well with county, with organizations in our community, with our city council, with our staff, and together we've accomplished a lot of things. It was mentioned about, crime and dilapidated buildings. We've torn down 325 since I've been mayor, with a program that was recognized as as the best in the state by the Municipal Association of South Carolina. There are just so many things we've done good and so many things that we've got planned that are good. But my commitment to you is that I realize we've got even more to do, and we're going to make sure that it gets done and keep on working hard to do it. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Bowen.
I do want to thank Mayor McElveen, too, for the great job you've done for the last 12 years. You've been an awesome leader. I just really would love the challenge to take us to the next level. I'm a business person. I've been successful at every single venture I've ever attempted. I exceeded most people's expectations, including my own. Miss Libby's, I knew nothing about dance. I opened a dance studio. I was the only person that would sign the lease. I couldn't even get Miss Libby to sign the lease. Within just a few short years, we were the largest dance studio in the Southeast. I almost turned down a job one time because I had to use a computer. And heaven forbid, if I pushed the wrong button, I was going to start World War III. But I faced my fears, and that was a wonderful career. I've had several careers. I've been successful in everything I've done. ERA Wilder was in 5th position when I took it over. Within 6 months, we were in 1st position. I am a true business person, and I believe it's time to put some business folks into government. And I also do want to add, I was warned that politics can be kind of uncomfortable sometimes. I would like to commend Mayor McElveen. This has been the most positive experience. I've had zero negativity, and I certainly do appreciate that.
All right, we want to thank all of our candidates tonight, both Mayor McElveen and Ms. Bowen in our mayoral forum tonight. Also our city council candidates that were here, Mr. Burns, Dr. Painter, and Mr. Merchant. Again, we appreciate you for doing that. Again, we thank our listening audience at home. They've been listening on WDXY 1240 AM and 105.9 FM, and also on our sister station, Z95.5. I want to thank Jack Osteen and Braden Bunch from the Item. We're going to wrap it up now from the Opera House, and we will see you 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Good morning, Sumter. Have a good night, Sumter.
This has been coverage of Election 2012, candidate debates and forums. Brought to you in part by NVSC of Manning, a division of Synovus Bank. Stokes Craven Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Manning. The City of Manning. And Radio Shack of Manning. Keep it here for more coverage on WDXY and WIBZ.